What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 27 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Mannfred von Carstein Immortal Empires campaign. So as we saw last time, Bathilda has embarked on the long road home to where she started her legend around Nashrak's lair or Fallen King Mountain. Unless I'm mistaken, she is heading towards Azag the Slaughterer, who has a pretty interesting army with a lot of single entities and a low model numbers, as that's not a particularly good matchup for her and her black coaches, but I am interested to see how that'll go. Obviously, at this point, the interest in the campaign is very, very much waning, and we are hurtling towards the end of this particular run. We got 2 more books of Nagash to find, and 1 more Nagashazar to conquer, of course, as that will remain as the campaign objectives, but we'll try to probably wrap things up within the next few episodes. I know, it's a sad note, but well, all good things have to come to an end, and all that, and it's not like vampires won't always have a place on this channel whenever possible. Anyway, let's get moving, shall we, Manny? You still got to move. You've still got a fair distance to cover until Nagashazar, which is good because it'll give the others time to move towards the next books. Kadan von Senkenhoff, I believe you're ready for an auto-resolve, yes? Yes. I mean, sure, we could send all the zombies up the walls, but we've seen it time and time again, and frankly, if they had a full stack there, I'd do it, but not with a damaged garrison and no army. Oh, no, just a regular occupy. And there we go. We got a lot of fights in this particular turn anyway, so we gotta focus on those. I can start with Repressed Mortals, I guess, but then we'll probably switch to Growth right after, assuming that I can remember. And Enchanted Shield. Brass Cleaver. Nice. I do find those crones rather useless, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Province Secured, Western Badlands. Yes, Storm of Necromancy, faction destroyed. Lovely. Alright, you two, you're obviously staying together, and I think one of you changed corpse carts. You both got on Holy Lodestone. You can keep the Balefire now. This is sort of our attacky zombie army, the heavy damage dealing ones, so yeah, stick around. Wilhelm, you are not moving towards the Forest of Gloom, but we'll probably move Ludwig to do so, but you will maybe want to knock out Zajar Naxxatask here, so declare war. We certainly don't want these guys showing up once our armies have moved on. Alrighty, and should be a quick little auto-resolve, yes. Now let me guess, it's going to damage our ghouls, but the auto-resolve always has a tendency to damage them unnecessarily, but oh well, no big deal. 2 turns only, murder captives, probably no point in doing so. Yeah, just go for the return captives, you should heal up to full. And you know what, even though it's out of order, I would like to do a fight. So Ludwig, let's level you up and let's head on in, shall we? The water's fine. Undeath Resurgent, you have no need for Dread Knights or Flying Horrors, unless I'm mistaken, as nothing there would buff anything that you have. We could max out Spirit Leech because it's still going to be useful, because army is not crazy expensive either, so it's not like we need Children of the Night. I'm going to say Spirit Leech because it's the most likely to be super, super useful. There is also Dark Protection, but we need to put 4 points in it, and I think for the upcoming battle we'll probably do Spirit Leech, especially since we... Oh, I didn't have another point in Invocation of Nehek either, do I? You know what, that's probably more prioritized than Spirit Leeches, but then we'll still do Spirit Leech. Anyway, Ludwig, I would like you to attack the Forest of Gloom directly. Like so. -1 thing. I decided to take out one of the Mourngulls, but I think I've somewhat changed my mind on that. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to move you back, if I can... Huh, why can't I select you? Weird. What about a march stance?
Bring me flesh to craft.
What the heck is going on? Is it because this army is interfering? Oh, okay, that's unfortunate. I was going to give him back his 1 Mourngul unit, but oh well, not a big deal, I suppose. Oh, what we could do, mean though it may be, it's not like these guys would contribute much to the fight anyway. Do this. We probably force them to run because we are besieging. Yeah, they're going to move away. They will cross the river quite annoyingly, but it will allow us to swap our units back. And I think the Konigstein Stalkers don't need to be in this army as much, so I'd rather have the Mourngulls since this is our Mourngul-themed army. Anyway, Ludwig, let's have you fight, shall we? Let's give one of the Spellbreakers the Razor Standard. That's 2 full stacks of Gobos and Orcs alike, including Black Orcs and stuff. Should be pretty fun for our Bone Giants and the Mourngulls. Can't wait to see more Bone Giant action because they're always fun when they're on field. Go. Alrighty, here we go. I've always really enjoyed this particular army with the scythe-wielding Spellbreakers and those Bone Giants. There we go. Especially as we don't have anything like the Bone Giant in the regular roster here for the Vampire Counts. Well, we do for the Vampire Ghosts, but they're not building their bloody tier 5, so we can't get the Necrarch Colossus, or haven't been able to so far. Anyway, we're going to start the battle off with some nice bolts of the unliving to call back to one of the Bone Giants there into the enemy Black Orcs and Lords. All 4 giants are firing at 4 different targets, and those are the critical targets there. 2 units of Black Orcs, the enemy Lord and the enemy Black Orc Big Boss here, all of which have lost about half their HP so far. We have kept 2 units of our Mourngulls together in our battle line because the Spellbreakers, while decent, are still quite fragile, though we can see that their stats are a lot higher on the battlefield than they were in the outside because of the Vigor Mortis, because of the spell stealing ability, especially when the enemy casts. So there is a lot of good stuff. But anyway, the other Mourngulls are over on the right, or left rather, flank here, and looks like they're going to catch some enemy cav and some enemy pump wagons who attempted to get around us. Moving through the forest, especially, not such a good idea against the Mourngulls. Certainly they're all going to get debuffed just like we are. But we can hit a lot harder than they can, especially since they can't take advantage of their charge. And plus, running from a bunch of Mourngulls in a forest. This has to be just a terrible day for anybody. I love the sort of fog effect that they also have. It's gonna be a pretty horrifying thing to face. I was gonna make a comparison with like I don't know, with like a horror movie and stuff, running through the forest from one of these things. But anyway, the enemy army still attempting to move towards us. Supporting a Necrarch is flying around because we like to use the Necrarchs more to act as a supporting lord rather than to fight directly. Though calling back to my Vlad campaign last time, we did have a Necrarch that really liked to fight and was all about being a strong Necrarch, which is pretty good too. Anyway, some of the Mourngulls are going to sally out. The enemy's taking a little bit too long to get out towards our hill and attack us. It does allow our sort of mobile artillery, well, not so mobile in this particular battle, but the artillery monsters to continue firing, but we should join the fray as well. So here comes some of the Spellbreakers and some of the Mourngulls. Of course, Mourngulls getting surrounded is not such a great idea since they are very fragile as far as monstrous infantry goes, and we'll get them out as needed. Fortunately, they do have the hunger, so they could always fight and then back out and then go back in and then heal themselves up, even discounting the various heals that we can offer them ourselves. Anyway, looks like the enemy has finally arrived. We're going to pop that Van Hell's Dance Macabre and the Staff of Damnation, pumping our melee attack up over 100. And fragile or not, those scythes will get to work, whether it be against the little gobs or whether it be against the Black Orcs as well. How's the armor piercing on these things? Probably pretty low, I'd wager. Let's see, Scythe is probably not such a great armor piercing. 13? Huh, it's not horrible. And it's not horrible. They probably wouldn't be able to fight anywhere near on par with the Black Orcs, but once again, we do have the healing. We certainly don't need heads. And oh wow, look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units all on the front ranks have lost their heads. Perhaps the Black Orcs thinking that taking the head off of the enemy will actually defeat them, but obviously that doesn't work so well against the undead. The units of Morngulls that were in the forest have headed out, and that's a very, very scary tide of units. Once again, I'm just singing the praises of the Morngulls. They're not as good units as Crypt Horrors are, certainly not as critical to the roster as Crypt Horrors are, but they're just so dang fun to watch. I was always super salty that they were only available to the Vampire Coast and not to the Vampire Counts back in the old-ish days, back in the middle days, but now that they're here, it's a nice thing to have. And plus, they kill things like nobody business. That kill count is already pretty darn up there, and so is the damage count. So good job to them. Anyway, looks like the Black Orcs, or at least one of the units of Black Orcs, is running away. They did get pretty heavily damaged by our bone giants here, who continue firing. They'll take a few arrows. I love the sort of unmoving nature of the constructs. And they did really good at that. And they don't have this sort of slight movements, and they're just completely still, but it looks really good when they get hit with a bunch of arrows and just completely stay in there and don't react to them at all. It's fantastic. Anyway, the enemy may have finally reached the hill, but they are in pretty darn bad shape as they do so. We found an enemy Orc Shaman with our now 2 Necrarch Lords, as the second one has moved in to help out, and said Shaman has been heavily damaged by our Spirit Leech spam as well as the Lords themselves. Few more bolts coming in, and well, everyone's probably doing pretty good damage, but it looks like we won't need to do too much more as the balance of power shifts vastly in our favor here. Shaman still booking it on out of there, but even if we can't chase him down, we'll simply Spirit Leech him down instead. Alrighty, a couple more seconds, and it looks like... Well, I was thinking that the chain route was here. It is here. It's just gonna take another couple of seconds. Come on now. Oh, and looks like the reinforcing Orc Warboss has also suffered about half of his HP and Bone Giant damage. Pretty solid. I think I like the Bone Giants a lot more in SFO than I do in Vanilla. In Vanilla, I've always found that there isn't too much... Oh, wow, very nice shot. What was I saying? That was too distracting. In Vanilla, I've always found that the Ushabti with Great Bow seem to be quite a bit more useful than the Bone Giants, even accounting for the range disparity, just in terms of what damage they can deal. But in SFO, the Bone Giants are quite a bit more useful, it seems. Just enough buffs. They're not OP, but they're very, very nice. Anyway, with that, the battle is ours. The Necrarchs do a great job, and I'm happy with the army's performance. It is done, as in this army will probably never get any more adjustments. We could put a Mortis engine in here to help the Spellbreakers even further, but it's not super needed. I'll think about it. Alright, very nice, very nice. Spellbreakers did take a decent bit of damage against certain foes, like the unit of Orc Biggins, which managed to kill off 138 of them, presumably, as well as dish out 20,000 damage. Otherwise, the Black Orcs were also fairly decent at it. But of course, once again, we've got heals, and they don't, which means that definitely went our way. 39k damage on one of the units of Morngulls, and frankly, a lot of them are hovering above 30k, which is pretty darn impressive. Still have to be a little bit careful with them, as they are fairly fragile to just have very, very high melee attack, and they were having a little bit of trouble with the Boar Boys, but were absolutely mincing the piles of enemy infantry, which you gotta appreciate. Anyway, Forest of Gloom. We can occupy the place for ourselves. This army and faction are they destroyed? Potion of Strength on Herman Wolfdrake. You don't need that, frankly. You're probably going to be a follower Lord Ally mission. The Drowned, successful, and there we go. Forest of Gloom is ours. Beautiful. Storm of Necromancy, and I guess you can pop into Repressed Mortals, though actually just out of curiosity. Eckendorf. Wait, how much is Forest of Gloom worth to you guys? Where is it here? It's worth 108. Well, that's nice. That's real nice. Eckendorf is worth More than that? Oh, game. But why? Alright, fair enough. Build the Sinister Cops here, as well as the Defiled Cairn, and maybe next turn we can trade the Forest of Gloom for Rackendorf. We still want this province, mostly just for contiguity purposes, and we really don't care about bothering with leveling up Forest of Gloom, rather. Granted, Undead or the Vampire Counts have a really nice main capital territories, which give up to 500 income generation. But frankly, we'd just be trading 1 for 1 and 1 without the red territory. So yeah, and yeah, it just bothers me that this yellow territory is right in the middle of territory that will be ours. Though, admittedly, we'll probably not get Grenstad from them. I suppose we could grab Feildorf and trade them for Steingart, and then, I don't know, I'll think about it. It doesn't really matter, especially not at this point in the campaign, as we are sort of in the just mess around and do whatever we damn well please portion of it. Anyway, Wilhelm, keep going this way. You've got a few more dwarfs to wipe out, though by the looks of it, not too many. And most of their bones are in the stomachs of the various ghouls. Okay, I'll do it in order. I was wondering whether that one could be attacked or auto-resolved. And ooh, Gustav Grigorovich. Yes, you are going to land. And I think you were going to kill off these elves as well, which I guess is going to be a fight. It's not the most necessary thing to do, because once again, at this point, we're just looking around for fun fights to be had. Are you not able to land? Okay, there we go. Just looking around for fun fights to be had, but we'll see. And depends on if it's auto-resolvable. We'll leave you there for a second. Recruiters, you don't have to move. Frederick von Karlsbruck, you have... Man, that's actually a long way to get to Lustria, isn't it? You're kind of stuck in an unfortunate location. How many turns would it take you to get to... Okay, wait. I wish the attrition skulls weren't visible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns to get to the C lane, and then 2 or 3 turns in the C lane versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's about the same if you account for the time it takes to travel through the C lane. All right, go this way then. I mean, if he manages to get to Lustria before the campaign ends, we could attempt to have his army duel Goroks. That might be fun. He has been dealing with the lizards fairly well, after all, with the pike and shot tactics. Anyway, recruiter, okay, you're fine. Red Duke, you are not fine. You are going to go to Bordeleaux. Need to just max the place out before you're heading to the Book of Nagash there. Alright, so what do we have at Bordeleaux here? Send you in real quick, and we do have a defensive building, but no garrison, so I think it's another auto-resolve. And Pyrrhic Victory. I mean, it won't kill anything, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, I guess the main issue here would be that there were elves nearby, although I think Alistar might be too far anyway, so it's not like it matters over much. You know what, John Doe will move you in to reinforce a little bit. And that should make the auto-resolve a teensy bit easier, because it's just not worth our... Oh, the little army in there is going to run. Alright, well, still close victory, but still nobody will die. Yeah, alright, we're good. And occupy the place. Obviously, we're not sacking Bordeleaux, because we wanted that Bordeleaux harbor. And it's a little bit of extra tradable resources, though our trade income isn't anything crazy at only 22k right now. Dawnstone for John Doe. It's not horrible. I keep it. And River Brienne is secured. Lovely. We'll also go into... Okay, took the wrong thing here. Repress mortals until the place is good. We should also be able to build the Morceau Valley vineyards for a massive pile of wine, as well as plenty of control and growth as well. And Bordeleaux's a really nice territory. Also, I guess you can channel... That doesn't matter, you're maxed out, frankly. Both of you are fine as you are. And you are, of course, Red Duke, waiting for the other Blood Knight out of this army. And you're nearly good. Alright. As in, his army is nearly complete and ready to go elsewhere. Alright, let's do the elves before we head to Helmengorst, because he's got ogres to kill, just for fun, once again. Let's level you up, Gustav. It's been, 3 points on you now. Alright, not bad. Now, we do want Immortal Horror, and I think since you have the important stuff out of here, you don't need Flying Horrors, and Deadly Power is not helpful to you either. Were we starting to go through Carriages of Death for... Oh yeah, because we want the Mortis engines buffed up. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Let's do Carriages of Death then. Bump up those Mortis engines slightly. Then we'll go through Attrition and Dang Horror. Well, I can't reach Mortal Horror one turn. Well, you know what? Since we can't, we'll do Grave Ward for this guy. He's on a Hell Steed. Mostly because all of these guys are on Hell Steeds. These guys, the ones that are commanding the Ghosties. Anyway, Wind of Death for you. Oh. We could try to get towards Friends in Dark Places to buff up the Mortis engine, though granted there aren't a lot of them in this particular army. 1 point in Wind of Death won't hurt anyway. And let's do Ghoulish Tendencies, so you're a little bit less likely to get wrecked by something. And Ghastly Ambitions, I guess. Ghostly Ladies. Where's Wally here? Up to level 30. Pretty nice. I mean, this army did do quite the number on the Southern Chaos Wastes, admittedly, so hardly surprising. I did want We Are the Elite. Oh, wait, no, I did not in this army, because we got Perfect Vigor on all the Ghosties anyway, so the Vigor loss doesn't really matter all that much. We could do the enemy speed reduction. That's certainly a thought. Well, maybe we should just try to get towards Slippery for the rare occasions where these guys run into enemies with magical attacks, because when they do, they are so fragile, because they have so little HP. So, yeah, alright, fine. Go for Gutter Fighter into Stalker. The campaign line of sight doesn't help us over much, and I think, even though it's super minimal, we're gonna go for Survivalist, just to get you a little bit of extra HP. It's, yeah, it's otherwise a little bit dangerous. We're ignoring Hidden Paths, at least for now. Notorious might not be the worst idea either. But anyway, for now, you're definitely getting Elusive, and then into Gutter Fighter, and then into Stalker, and then into Survivalist. Yes. Alright, that's good enough. Let's see. You guys are currently at war/peace with nobody. So... do this. Declare war. I know I said /peace, anyway, declare war and attack, and they will indeed fight on field. It is a lot of high elves, and we haven't had a chance to kill off too many high elves, and I think there was even a complaint about the lack of high elf killing. I think that was in the Chaos Dwarfs campaign. Playing campaign, multiple campaigns at the same time, and does sometimes confuse me. But anyway, this is a lot of enemies to slaughter our way through with the Ghost Pals, so let's do it. And damn, look at the melee attack on the, well, Ghost of Khemri in particular, but on the Cairn Wraiths now. It has been buffed up to a pretty darn high degree. Oh, they reached rank 7 recently. And then all those extra buffs. Granted, the lack of melee defense, like we can see the Sirens, whose attacks aren't going to be nearly as buffed, but they have solid melee defense. Anyway, it's a fun army. Let's enjoy it. Alrighty, here we go. I guess it's a NECRARCH kind of day. We have 3 NECRARCHs in the campaign, and all 3 of them are fighting today, I guess. Anyway, the Ghostly Army is a very fun one that I love to see fight as well, so I'm always excited to see it do so. And of course, the enemy is going to have a pretty bad time here against the Ghosties, especially against them with the army that was outside the enemy settlement, which is probably going to get torn apart like nobody's business before the other units arrive on the field. And I do love all the Ghosties, but of course, as I've said many a time, and will probably say many a time again, Hex Wraiths are my favorite unit in the entire game. They've been my favorite unit in the entire game since well, the Vampire Counts got added, which has been a long time. But these guys have absolutely everything I like in a unit. Fragile, high damage dealing, very mobile. They're really fun, and just really fun to play around with. Anyway, speaking of the Hex Wraiths, they are causing absolute havoc in the enemy's backline. The Chillgeists have obliterated a unit of War Lions, whose armor piercing and bleed were apparently quite useless against the charging Chillgeists. And of course, the Chillgeists are a very nasty unit as well. Between Frostbite and the chilling aura on them, it's a ludicrous amount of speed reduction that they can apply to enemies. Anyway, looks like the enemy's first army very quickly gets overrun and destroyed, but that's kind of the nature of the Ghostly Army. They are, well, just like the Hex Wraiths themselves, by and large fragile glass cannons, and they tear through the enemy army before melting away. And melt away we shall. Just going to get a few more casualties up and running. Let's speed it up while we do so, while the enemy reinforcements arrive on the field. But this allows us to back away and become stalking hidden once more. And we'll allow the enemy to move forward a little bit, maybe up on the hill, but just away from the sort of edge of the map, as this is 2 stacks worth of stuff that we ideally will want to actually kill before they return to their settlement. Anyway, looks like a unit of, Illyrian Reavers, not even Silver Helms out here attempting to get around our army and hit us in the flanks, but they get charged by the Chillgeists and pretty much obliterated. Let's see, yeah, they lost 70% of their HP before the second unit of Hex Wraiths even managed to close in. And there, just look at their speed. Once again, the Chillgeists bringing a light cav unit down to 17 speed, slower than zombies. It's such a nasty debuff. Or double debuff, I guess, debuff and aura, whatever. Anyway, the enemy army has arrived and we are ready. We also have our 2 ghostly assassins here, our 2 banshees. We don't have a lot of banshees on the map, but that's alright. They'll serve their purposes here. An enemy prince as well as an enemy noble stand against them, and we'll just have 2 individual duels between the banshees and the enemy elves. We're not going to help out with our lord. We'll see if the ghosties can handle themselves, and I think since neither the noble or the enemy prince have magical damage on them, they're going to struggle quite a bit. We can see that they've lost about a third of their HP each, where we've lost between 5 and 10% of, well, probably 10% of the HP on our banshees. And besides, they are doing their job of distracting the enemy, as all of our ghosties are now moving into the fight. The Hex Wraiths are sort of sticking around for a little bit. They do have that charge bonus for a little while, and then we could potentially back them out, but without magical damage in the enemy army, they're not going to be too threatened by anything. No enemy mages to be too wary of, so we don't have to worry about being blobbed up like this, where a single spellcast could probably deal heavy damage to us, though, with the various buffs that we have, let's just see here, we are at 55% spell resistance on the Cairn Wraiths, which is pretty darn solid, and they're basically maxed out in terms of missile resistance, except against magic, immune to contact effects, perfect vigor, very, very nasty units against non-magical damage dealers. And of course, we also debuff the enemy with the combination of the Sirens as well as the Spirit Hosts. A little bit of a double debuff on them. We can see the enemy is losing 15 attack between Enfeeble and between Charmed, which is pretty darn solid. Even though, obviously, as we've seen in SFO, the attacks get buffed quite a bit. We've seen lots and lots of units go close to 100 attack with techs and buffs. And of course, our own ghosties are no exception. They're all hovering close to around 100 attack, when on field anyway, and with a few minor buffs. Anyway, Chillgeists continue to charge, and I guess generally speaking, the Hex Wraiths continue to be menaces in the enemy backline, and looks like one of the enemy lords, I don't know whether it was the prince or the noble, has at last been defeated by Where's Wally here, and at the cost of, 20%, 25% of her HP, pretty solid. And I do believe the other one, the enemy noble, is booking it on out of there, and it looks like the noble, unsurprisingly perhaps, was a little bit easier to defeat for Ghostface, the Lord being a little bit stronger than the hero. And so Ghostface isn't as hurt. But anyway, very nice. So the Banshees proved their worth, and in fact the entire Ghostly army does, as the second and third armies are getting absolutely trounced. A little sort of unit of holdouts, the White Lions and Swordsmasters, attempting to hold ground against the Cairn Wraiths, but will probably be the last units on the field, and though not for too long, because it looks like the entire army will shatter. And just those guys took the least damage. And speaking of damage, our army is just fine. I think a couple of the units of Cairn Wraiths, or one of the ghostly units or two, did take a tiny bit of hurt, but we were able to heal them right back up, and no problem at all. Once again, the enemy just didn't have the right kind of army composition to deal with this type of army. Alrighty, there we go. Always love to see the ghostly army go to work. They do good work. And against enemy armies that don't have magical damage, they will always come out very, very far ahead. And when enemy have reinforcements coming in, well, we can destroy the first army and then disappear with the speed and stock that we have on the entire army. Allow the enemy to move in and then tear them apart once they're back on field. We got the both the Banshee heroes that gave them both the chance to duel an enemy lord and noble each, which was pretty fun for them, I'm sure. And damn, the chill guy, 75k damage, 441 kills, and well, that's the Regiment of Renown of my favorite unit for you. Gotta love hex rates. Anyway, a lovely fight. And admittedly, while the enemy armies without magical damage are or do feel a little bit weak compared to this army, at least without copious mages or other sorts of splash damage units, this army did after all have its sort of trial by fire when we have trial by warp fire, I should say, when we sent them to fight Zinch. Anyway, do we need healing to auto-resolve this? I'm gonna hope that we don't. So let's do murder captives just to power up that auto-resolve a teensy bit further. And while this faction will not immediately be destroyed, this is their capital here, and they won't even attempt to defend it. Too bad for them. Alright, to resolve Citadel of Dusk, we will take 85 units as losses here, so more than from the actual fight, but that's alright. Don't bother collecting, well, actually, we are positive. No, nonetheless, don't bother collecting the income, but stay outside of the settlement in channeling stance. I'd just like to make sure that you don't immediately get another student that we don't need. Several students that we don't need. Hellsteed for Martin Regak, not relevant to us where we currently are. You are going to build the ghost fence. Actually, you know what, we'll, I guess, wait until we can get the commandment up and running. It's -2 or -1, was it? Oh, it's only -1, so if we start on it now... Yeah, fine, start on it now. It's not like we will be sticking around here to defend the place, A, and B, we don't really care about the territory, to be perfectly frank. And to be perfectly frank, maybe I should have just raised it, but, well, whatever. Yeah, because we don't have enough armies out here to actually defend any of the territory we take, although having them as a buffer to potentially defend the territories south of us might actually be a decent option because, well, these places still need, they still need defending. Anyway, let's see what else we gotta do, although we are out of time battle-wise by the looks of it. And okay, next on the menu is Grease's Goldtooth. Probably not so used to being on the menu, but we're gonna have to save his fight for next episode, as well as that of Mannfred von Carstein and his doggos, as both of them will attack two Grease's stacks plus their garrisons at the same time. And then we'll see about moving Elvira up to kill off Skagoath Vuzkalak as well. And we'll probably quickly destroying Goldtooth before heading down to the Golden Order. A few golden episodes in the towards the end of the campaign. Anyway, stay tuned for a few more eps, I think. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and yeah, that's not worth fighting, just auto-resolve that. And there we go. Occupy, and we'll transfer these guys' forces from where near Vlad is next turn as well. And actually, Karakadrin, oh, that was their last, well, yeah, I guess they lost pretty hard previously, and frankly. Vlad, wait, can we use you? Ah, we can use you. Fantastic. We'll use you to occupy Fallen King Mountain. Don't need to fight it, especially with Vlad's army being... Oh, Pyrrhic victory, it'll kill off a doggo. You know what, this is a complete waste of time. I'll do it between the episodes as Vlad will need to move out here anyway. Blah, 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 blah. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.